that has been beautiful for me to experience. Like, you have been super respectful, super understanding, and I think it has been mutual.
Going on dates, just having our blanket and taking it out and having like a picnic, those things are really helpful for me to connect with you even more, because those are all so personal.
Physical intimacy and lovemaking is something God invented for marriage and with a purpose that is beautiful, but it's in the world is either one way that is kind of like very cheap and easy to get.
Have you been learning about how this thing works between us? Welcome back to another episode on Happily Ever After. This is the Raj family. Today we have a very interesting, exciting topic. It might not necessarily be comfortable for a lot of people, but we think it is something very important for us to share, so people out there can be benefited, can be encouraged, and also look forward to it if they are still single. And that is physical intimacy in marriage.
All right. So, honey, what did you anticipated before marriage? Looking into that chapter with experiences that just build us and give us a perspective, what were your anticipation or thoughts about it?
So, from a guy's perspective, I was really excited about it. I was very much looking forward to it. However, I was very intentional not to have those thoughts before marriage, because things might go in a different direction. I wanted to be very specific, very particular, that I wouldn't think on those things. But I was also looking forward to it once we get married, how it is going to be and how we are going to enjoy the time. And how was it for you?
Wow. I had never heard this in person from you before, so it's really nice to hear actually of a guy that was not only thinking about that all the time. For me personally, I grew up, and at the beginning of our podcast, actually, I share how it was my thought. So I was really fearing how it would be, because I grew up listening to so many ladies being so not happy with that area in their life, married women. And yes, those that were not married would always be speaking about having, physical intimacy and just playing around with people. And so I was like, I don't want that, but I don't want being married and so sad and depressed about that area. Like, better to be single than married and feeling abused, misused, stuck, and just so. I had mixed feelings, but I remember when I was 14, I started praying for what God's plan for marriage. Because through the Bible, it sounds like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you read, even though there's different interpretations, but when you do read Song of Solomon, it's like so beautifully, poetically, and so like attracted to each other and so tender. And so I was like, there has to be something. If God put it there, even if that illustrates the church or whatever, there is something in marriage that is beautiful and like very expressive as well.
True.
So I kind of was anticipating something as God explains it, but also questioning myself, does it really exist in this world? Or it's just one way or the other, just like playing around and no commitment and just no purpose more than the fulfillment or the pleasure of it, or just stuck and sad and kind of like really not enjoying that aspect.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like, if you have constantly heard negative things about physical intimacy, if you have heard how they were being abused, or they felt like at least they were being abused, it can have an impact in you. And for me, early on in my life itself, I was introduced to porn, so a lot of those things were there. But yeah, it is a very common thing for guys, at least among guys, to watch it and all of that. But for me, I was very determined in my relationship, in my marriage, or before my marriage, in my relationship. I didn't want to have anything related to sexual thoughts. My thoughts were, yes, we are going to have it, but after we get married. And after we get married, how beautiful it's going to be. That is how it was. But I can understand the trauma that you might have gone through because of all the other people's experience. But now that
I just want to share one more thing because, yeah, growing up as a teenager, I read books, I saw God's plan, and I was inspired. But I would talk to my peers, my age, 12, 14, like that type of teenagers, like young, and they were already involved in sexual activity with guys at school. So I was like, that I'm not looking forward. I don't want to be thinking, even if I meet a guy when I'm young, 14, 15, I want to have thoughts of building a friendship, building a family in the future, not just playing around. So from a very young age, I wanted to also guard myself from that route. Physical intimacy and lovemaking is something God invented for marriage and with a purpose that is beautiful, but it's in the world is either one way that is kind of like very cheap and easy to get, or it's abused in ways even in marriage. So I was like, I don't want that and I don't want that. But later on, and I thank God for it, I had close friends that got married and wanted to follow God's will, and they started sharing their experience, and that it was like 2-3 years before our marriage, 3-4 years before our marriage, and I really felt like, wow, someone is experiencing what I've read of God's plan. So I was like, it's possible, like. And then here and there, I would hear other Christian podcasters talk about it in a more like encouraging way. So I started to regain hope that it exists. And there are people that are enjoying this aspect in marriage in God's way.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of anticipating something good, that it was possible. Not only God said it, but I started to see it. And I was like, whoa, like people should speak more about this. Like not only the ones that are being abused should speak, but also those that are experiencing something good.
Positive things. And it goes along with the marriage experience too, right? Most of the times what we hear is the people that go through bad times, that have issues in marriage, and they smear it in everyone's life saying this is how marriage is going to be. It's going to be really bad. And on the flip side, there is good things that are people experiencing as well. There are so many people that experience beautiful things in their marriage, but many of them don't come out and speak about it. I would love for those people to come out and speak, which will give hope for more people than those who are just suffering and struggling. And it will be more encouraging. And same thing with the physical intimacy as well. I think if more people come out and share how beautiful their experience is, it will help people like me that were exposed to porn early on in my life will be like, oh, so, okay, it's a beautiful thing. I don't have to watch these things, or I don't have to get influenced by my friends with these things. I can just wait till I get married, you know? So I really wish there were more people that would talk about these sensitive things, but openly. And I personally don't really see the importance of talking the negative impacts, like how the brain changes. I'm not talking about how you're thinking. I'm just talking about how the physical appearance changes and all of those things. I'm not interested in those things. What would help me is how beautiful it would be. You know, more of the positive things, because at one point you would feel like, yeah, these are the things that is going to happen, but what can I do? You know, it is more like an addiction, you know, like with cigarettes and alcohol. It's the same thing. You talk about, oh, when you smoke a lot of cigarettes, your lungs are going to be affected, and this and this is going to happen. Many people are like, yeah, it is what it is. And some people even try to fight it, saying, oh, my grandma smoked and she lived till 90 years old. My grandpa smoked and he was fine. He crossed 100 years old. You know, there is a lot of negative things that people love to point out, which has its place. But I think talking about positive things makes it even better, makes it even more wanting, you know?
A bigger motivation to make our choices.
Exactly, exactly. Instead of saying you won't have this money if you spend on this, how much money you will have to utilize for something else. You know, flipping it into a positive perspective helps me. Oh, it's a great thing, and I think that'll be a beautiful thing if people start talking about the positive things and more waiting to have the experience in the marriage instead of trying to find bits and pieces wherever they can. You know, this will have more of a positive impact. But now, what are some things that help you to make it beautiful?
Okay. To make the intimacy in marriage beautiful?
Yeah.
That's the question. So I think some things that really make it beautiful is to know that we really treasure each other and value each other for who we are mentally, physically, like that we value the treasure we have in
Yes.
each other. So I think that is foundational. If you don't have that in a marriage, then you know, it's no point. So you need to value each other's heart, each other's body, each other's perspectives and different things. You need to know that yeah, you're not going to be treated as trash or like just you're here and you're mine, but really you're a treasure. I value you and I want the best. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is to know that we can be ourselves,
Yeah.
that
True.
we can, and I guess that comes with building a strong friendship and communication as well through the relationship. So then when you are in marriage, you keep building on that. But it's like we're not afraid of each other. I don't know how to say. We're not. We can be ourselves, and
Yeah,
and
you
it's
feel-
a comfortable or a safe,
Safe space,
space to truly express. And yeah, I don't know if it's coming later. I don't want to jump too forward. I think it's going to come in the next point, some other things. But how
Yeah,
about for
yeah.
you?
For me, what things helps me to make the physical intimacy more meaningful is, I think, the friendship that we have in the marriage, going on dates, just having our blanket and taking it out and having like a picnic. Those things are really helpful for me to connect with you even more, because those are all so personal, you know. And playing, I always love this thing. We play around, we run, try to catch each other, and we have our own goofy little games that we play, and that makes it even more closer for me somehow, that I feel like, yeah, this is something that is very nice and makes it, and then when that leads to the physical intimacy, it makes it even better. And it's not like a set time. Okay, at what time are we going to do this? You know?
Not a checklist.
Yeah, it's not a
Or-
checklist. It's not dry. It's not like it doesn't have emotion in it. It has a lot of emotions. When all of these things come together, it's so, for me, it makes it really nice.
And I think I totally agree with what you said. Like, just having fun together, like laugh together in your marriage. Because as you laugh, you produce endorphins, dopamine. You can be like united in whatever it is that you're laughing. So I know of couples, of them, that they also laugh, tease each other, and that increases the connection between them.
Yes,
And I know that that has been for us as well. Like,
absolutely.
it just builds a bond, even if you just do things that are silly, but that are like so connecting. So connecting. And sometimes breaking that routine, that seriousness of life, and just being like, wow, we can laugh together.
Basically being friends, you know. Many times what happens is, once couple are married, they stop being friends. They become husband and wife, and it becomes like a chore. Oh, okay, so it's time for that, we need to do this. And a lot of people have complaints about it. When I say a lot of people, I'm sure everyone knows it's usually women that have complaints about it of uh, because they are not ready for it, and it just becomes like a chore. Okay, let's do it and get it done with. So now with these games and stuff, yeah, it is great, but let me put it this way: if a woman is not ready and a man wants to do it, how does it work? What are your thoughts about it? Is there boundaries? Is there respect? Is there something that both male and female, the husband and wife, can uh, observe something in it?
Definitely in marriage, it doesn't mean that now you have a license that you can just run through the red light. And license, it's to be able to drive but not necessarily do your own rules. You have to abide by caring about others as well. And I think it's the same in marriage. You have the license and the approval and blessing of God and everything to be together and to do it with no guilt, no shame, no fear. But we need to respect each other's and be super sensitive that we care about each other. And that I was not knowing exactly how it would play out, because I had that understanding as well. Like, yeah, many times, even if you're tired or this or that, or maybe a headache, but if the guy is ready, he's ready, and he will try to make it happen. So I was like, okay, how to deal with all of that? How is it going to be? And I think in the relationship, you start seeing certain respect, and that's super important, because in marriage, you will need that mutual respect and understanding. That even if I don't feel that way, even if I don't really see it the same way, I respect. And I know that has been beautiful for me to experience. Like, you have been super respectful, super understanding, and I think it has been mutual. So we really are super sensitive to know, like, okay, if there's someone that is like, I'm actually a little tired, or it's like, okay, no problem. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not now a complaint and doing a fuss like we are 2 years old trying to get our toy. So we need to grow up.
Yeah.
We need to grow up in life. And this is a part of self-control.
Absolutely. You nailed it. That's what I was thinking too, because it comes to a point where now you're married, and it's not just your body, it's the other person's body as well. Are you going to respect them, respect their boundaries, and are you going to care for them? Because it all comprises under the part called love. If you cannot respect, if you cannot have boundaries, if you cannot, if you're adamant and if you're not having self-control, then do you really love the other person?
No.
Right. And then, of course, there are other cases where of course, I don't have personal experience with you, but I've heard this on social media that people are constantly saying, no, I'm not interested, or I have a headache, or something comes up.
It cannot be constant. There's also a problem there. Like, what is going that you're not connecting emotionally? Because if you do connect spiritually and emotionally with your partner and you don't have any major health condition, it will naturally flow if there's that respect and that understanding and freedom to say no and not be guilt tripped. Then immediately you want to give more. Immediately, it's like, it's such a huge topic, because this is huge in relationships. The lack of many times learning to give space so that love can flourish. So we think, I love you so much, so come on, accept my wish. Or we do it so manipulative that the other person feels bad and then does it.
Yeah.
So what is that? What is it? So I think I have found, and I was very scared, honestly, before marriage. I was like, if my husband is putting pressure, I feel I will shut down. And I think that's what happened with
It
many
happens, yeah.
ladies. And then the husband is frustrating with a wife that doesn't want it. A wife is frustrated with a husband that is demanding. And then they're in that same pattern. Because once that spirit starts, if you don't change it, I think it can destroy completely love. So no wonder so many marriages are struggling with this. And it's a real thing. But I was just, when we got married and I saw that truly desire not only to from you, not only to have a good time for you, but to really bless me and to respect me, then I was like, whoa, I never heard about this so much, and I was not expecting this, and my heart completely opened up in more safe feeling, and the love just blossomed, and I started to comprehend even more of God's character through it. So I was like, marriage is so beautiful. God truly invented it with such a beautiful plan to reflect his character. And so I just feel so privileged that God has given us the opportunity to experience that.
Yeah.
And as long as we're surrendered to him, he will help us. But it starts when we're single, right?
Yeah.
The self-control, the learning to submit to God, because then we have to submit to someone else. We have that. It's like it's a huge thing
It's a
that
growth
starts when we're single and will continue through marriage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we spoke about how nice it is, what causes it to make it better, and then respect and boundaries. What, this is just a question that just came to my mind. What could be something, one thing, just you can share one thing that someone might not be interested in physical intimacy constantly on a regular basis? What could cause something?
That.
Cause them not interested in physical intimacy. I actually can think of one thing, and that is if they are emotionally involved with someone else.
Well, for sure.
Yeah. In many cases.
Not even sexually.
Yeah, not even
Yeah.
sexually. Absolutely. That's a very important point. Not even sexually. They might not even be involved sexually, but they might be involved mentally or emotionally, and they are unable to connect with their spouse, whether it's a husband or a wife. You know, that is something that we can observe. And I mean, the given is that the spouse has been respectful, the spouse has been very careful, not crossing their boundaries and all of that. Yet we do hear complaints that, oh, there is not great physical intimacy, we don't have physical intimacy, or vice versa. And one of the things that I would say I have observed is the spouse is not emotionally available to you, unfortunately. And would that be considered as a cheating in a way?
You're robbing your marriage from what it's meant to be. So it's a way that you're robbing yourself and the other person of what it's intended for marriage. So there are emotional affairs, even sometimes called spiritual affairs. So everything is leading, it's not just emotionally we connect with this person and our neighbor and our family. Like there's different types of connection, but it's something that goes a little deeper with someone, that it's hijacking your marriage. Instead of you going to your marriage and to God to look for that foundation and that nucleus as a family, someone else is kind of giving you the life source. So now your heart is divided. So I don't know exactly how we would define it, but it is robbing you and your spouse from what it can be. So yeah, I agree with you. Definitely, if there's emotionally connections that are too deep, even it can be apparent. I've seen this as well. Like there's a codependency with someone that is taking too much time and energy and everything, that then there's nothing to give and nourish in your own nucleus. So
Wow. I never thought of it that way. I
ev-
mean, I know about codependency with other people besides parents. I never thought of the physical intimacy being affected because you are emotionally connected or codependent with your parents. Wow.
So, I mean, I haven't experienced it myself, so I cannot really say how, to what degree it will impact. But the thing is that, to put it in simple words, I think physical intimacy is a result, or should be the result, of spiritually and emotionally that strength. If other things are robbing you from that strength, then you will be weak, and your physical intimacy will also be weak in that. You can do the act. You
Yeah.
can do the
For the sake of
yes,
doing it. Yeah.
but you won't have necessarily the desire because you're exhausted from other things or other conversations or other situations. So I think that brings to another point that sometimes also excessive busyness, tiredness, and stress can definitely also rob from a healthy, intimate life.
Very true.
And
Very true.
that's just the truth.
Yes. Yeah. Because more than physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion has an impact on the physical health. And when you're mentally exhausted for a period of time consistently, then it does have an impact in the physical intimacy.
Because it's all also a physical component. Like your body will be drained and it won't respond in the same ways many times. And I think, is there another point you can think of that can affect?
I was thinking more of the stress factors. In fact, that goes along with what you said, like in terms of work or mental exhaustion and all of that. If you're stressed out, you won't be in the mood to uh, have the physical intimacy as it is supposed to be. Yes, I can do it, or however, but there is no wholesome fulfillment in it. It's just, oh, okay, I'm stressed out, I did this, I'm relieved, and then go on with the life, But I think the stress has a huge factor as well. If someone is not interested in it, maybe that is one of the things that will be need to check on. Emotional connection, stress, mental exhaustion, a lot of things, a lot of factors that can be involved in it. Of course, it doesn't have to mean that they are always cheating,
No.
but there are several other things that can be part of it as well. Yeah.
That can be robbing you from having a better connection at that level.
Have you been learning about how this thing works between us?
Definitely, it's a learning curve because I don't know why, but many times it's thought, things just, I guess growing up, I thought, well, it just happens naturally. Everything just would flow perfectly and yeah, just will happen. But I think like everything else in life, it's a process to learn. And so I like to call it like playing an instrument. For any of you that do play instruments, do you play in an orchestra right away from day one? No, you first learn the instrument, start playing notes, and start seeing the process of it. And so, but it gets better, sweeter, more understanding, easier. All of those things of learning an instrument so you can play an orchestra well or a music, whatever. So I think it's the same for physical intimacy, and that was important to be patient with the process, I think, at the beginning, because yes, some people say, well, that's why you should have, practice so that you come into marriage a professional. But is that what marriage is for? Or marriage should be where you learn together as well. So I think might as well learn together.
Yeah. I think that will be even better, because if one person has a lot of experience and the other person doesn't have experience, the person that has a lot of experience is going to suffer because the other person is still starting and trying to understand and have that
Yeah, it's like
connection.
a beginner playing a violin
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
professional, but you can both start learning and
yeah,
grow together in it.
yeah.
So we don't have to become a professional violinist to get married in this context, but we can just see who God is leading us to and learn together. And that's a beautiful thing as well. And so you do have to be patient with each other in that process in learning and not have like this expectation of performance but more of an experience that you enjoy the experience, and that I think goes throughout marriage. It's not just performance, but it's an experience that you have with bonding, with just having fun together and enjoying the gift in that area in marriage.
And the other part that I like is about communication, open communication, right? Because we are growing, we are learning what works and what doesn't work, what are the dislikes and what are the likes. But then open communication definitely helps with it, because we openly share and not expect the other person to know what it is. Like if you are appreciating it or not, I will not know. Sometimes I can know with the um, the body language, but then isn't it easier to just share it? Hey, I like this, I dislike this one. It makes it even better, because then next time I'm like, okay, she doesn't like this, let's try the one that she likes. So I think really open communication helps with physical intimacy as well, just like everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just very important. Another thought came to my mind of an illustration, like as a massage therapist. You don't feel the massage, but you constantly ask, how is the pressure? How are you doing? Is it okay? So the same should be kind of as you're learning each other, then it becomes more natural and not all the time you need to be asking and telling, but there should be clear communication and no fear to express, because that's the only way we will learn.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the only way we will learn, because it is a very unique act that God created, that you are doing everything for the other person and the other person is doing for you. And in a way, you both have pleasure and you can know how to use your body and everything, but it's also very much a give and receive.
Absolutely.
You need to be very willing to receive, and that's, I think, another component that sometimes in certain circles is like, well, you shouldn't really have pleasure, or it's selfish, or it's dirty, or whatever. So yeah, you do it in marriage, but you should not really express, because then maybe, I don't know, like a bad connotation
Wow.
to actually being more open in this area in your marriage. So many people are not necessarily that open.
I have not heard something like that personally. I've never heard that personally. It's a very different thing. But if you're not emotionally involved, then what is it?
Well, not emotionally involved, but for the physical component, to some people, it's seen as it's dirty, it's not good. So, okay, you do it because you're married. But for some people I know, they try to even not do it for a while because they were fighting with their conscience that physical intimacy, it's actually wrong or dirty or more sensual and not really something that is elevating. Because yeah, if you look around in the world, it's not something elevating. If you grow up with people saying, physical intimacy is bad, or you shouldn't do it because it's wrong. But there is ways that it's not good for us, but there's ways that it's amazing. So like someone said, this is a very unique thing that outside of marriage it's really distractive, but in marriage it's so uniting and so healthy and beautiful. So yeah, it's a very unique gift that God gave, that is for a very special purpose, to bless someone else.
Absolutely.
It's not just to bless myself, because then if someone feels like, oh, I'm not married and I have this need, then how to fulfill it.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting. I'm glad we spoke on this topic, and as we continue to learn. We probably will share more maybe in the future episodes, but I think for now we have come to the end of this episode, and we hope you were able to gain something. And if you agree or disagree, please put it in the comment, and we will be really interested to read and understand other perspectives. We are open to learning as well. So,
And something that I want to end with a few words. As ladies, I think it's so valuable to really see the blessing of it and see that God had a beautiful plan for it. And that we really treasure that, look forward to it, and are not inhibited as ladies to be initiators, expressors, communicators, like to be ourselves when that moment comes, and to be free and see it that God created it beautifully to bless someone else one day and to receive the blessings through it. And as gentlemen, you can speak better to them, but from my side, having a husband and speaking as a lady and as a wife now, I can say, if you respect, if you treat your wife as a treasure and as something you want to protect and bless, it will bloom if God is in the midst. It will just make her want to give more, but that demeanor and attitude has to be reflecting Christ. So with that said, I think marriage and this physical intimacy in marriage is such a huge, great gift that reflects a little deeper of God's unconditional love.
totally agree with you, and amen to that. And from my side, for men, one of our friends shared with us that she and her husband, when they come together in the evenings, even if he is ready for physical intimacy, she wants to know what's in his heart, what has happened the whole day, and all those things, that she asks questions and he shares. And when all those things are shared and everything is cleared off, not cleared off, when everything is shared and they both
Understand each other.
understand each other, yeah, and they both understand each other, then she feels more connected with the husband. And now she is ready and he is ready, and they have the physical intimacy. So try to understand, what does your wife want to have that type of connection, that emotional connection with you. Because yes, it is an act in itself, but for men, we can just go right into it. But for women, there are some things that they need before they come to that point where they are ready to have the physical intimacy. So I would say, talk with your spouse, understand her heart, or even openly ask her. Communication is key. Ask her what will help you to come to a point where you feel connected with me, and then it will be a beautiful experience, instead of something that he or she has to do it because for the sake of doing it.